Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Truth Is. I want to do this quick video because, well, it's not going to be quick. I'm sorry. I'll take that back. What I mean by that is I wanted to come in here and get on this because I'm tired of hearing a certain narrative. Now, some of you probably don't really know who I am if you've ever seen any of my videos. I'm going to explain a little bit about that when I get back. I'm going to do my introduction, and then we're going to talk about some of these things that the left is saying about deep fakes, cheap fakes, and racism and its lies. And I want to say a little bit about gun control and the Second Amendment too. So we're going to get back to that after the introduction. As far as I'm concerned, a lot of you don't know. Welcome back to Truth Is. A lot of you don't know. I've been actually talking about things that the deep state are involved in for decades. My father and my uncles were telling me about the Illuminati in the 70s. So I was actually a Democrat for a while until 90. Then I realized that they were the ones who were messed up, and I switched in 91. I never could have voted for the Clintons. I knew they were corrupt. So I started telling all this stuff to my friends, and they were like, well, what are we supposed to do about it? Fight them, or they're going to kill us all, you know? What are you going to do, fight the government? I'm like, look, man, there's different ways to fight. You know, it's not all about the same thing, you know, about resorting to violence, but, you know, that's always a last resort with anybody. That's patriots, anybody. You should always resort to violence as a last resort, and that's only in defense of yourself or someone who can't defend themselves. So back to what I was saying, okay, I've been in this business a lot longer than most people. Maybe not technically on the internet, or, you know, but I've been telling people the truth for a long time. So maybe not quite as long as Alex Jones, but I've been in it a pretty long time. Anyway, the thing is I saw all these people saying that that we're using cheap fakes, we're, you know, editing evidence, and that it's just not true. I mean, I'll tell you on this first clip, and I'm going to show you a whole series of clips, and then I'm going to show you something about them. Okay, you want to talk about controlling what people think? Okay, now this first clip was when Joe Biden was watching the skydivers, and he did turn and walk towards some other skydivers. So they kind of cut that off, and some of the news people and then they're like, oh, see, it was all cheap fakes. That's what they start calling it. Then there was the one where he was in Paris, I think, and he went to sit down, and they cut out the part where the chair was there, and he sat down. So I'm telling you right now, I don't show where he sits down, and I don't show where the parachute guy. Well, you might catch a glimpse of him, but the point was he wasn't supposed to be wandering over there. He was supposed to be getting a photo done with some other, you know, leaders. So again, I'm going to go into that, and then we're going to talk about You know, I've tried to keep explaining this to people, and one of the things I studied constitutional law now on my own time, and with my father, and you know, my father and me were both kind of studying it, and he had like all these classes from Professor John Eadsmo. So I have a stack of CDs from Professor John Eadsmo's class recordings of him talking about the Constitution. A lot of people don't understand that the Constitution was written to control the government, and a lot of people keep saying that our right, my Second Amendment right, it's not your Second Amendment right. That's what I keep trying to tell everybody. The Second Amendment was a chain to chain the government down. So to say I have inalienable rights, I was given God-given inalienable rights to keep guns to defend my life. My life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is mine. It's inalienable. You can't take it away. That's why when you look at the Second Amendment, it doesn't describe exactly what that right is. It doesn't say what kind of guns you can own, what kind you can't. It says the government shall not infringe. It's a control for the government. It's not your control. So when they say they're going to sign a piece of paper to take away your freedom, no, they're not doing. That's not what they're doing. They're signing a piece of paper that says now we don't have to not pursue you over having guns anymore. So it's not. They're not taking your right away. They're taking away the chains that keep them from persecuting you over owning guns. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people kind of miss this, but okay, let's get on to the videos, and we'll get back to this discussion later. Now here's the part where he walks over to talk to the guys who came down with parachutes, and they kind of sort of cut it off so you didn't really see or edit. So there's really no, like Dan Bongino said, and I would challenge any media expert to show us where we edited these, show me where it was edited at. They won't, because they know, look right here. I mean, that wasn't edited. Where was it edited at? This is the one where he went to go sit down. Now they cut it off, and you can't really see the chairs the way they focused the camera out, and so you didn't see him trying to sit in a chair. So that was the only one that was sort of like that in the parachute one. Past that, everything, them saying cheap fakes is just a cheap excuse for them to cover for Joe. Again, he gets lost. Where's it edited? Where is the edit? Right there. Obama grabs him. They're just standing there. So where's the edit? See, they keep lying and saying cheap fake. Well, no. They cut out the part when they edited it, and I didn't put that in here where they edited it and tried to cut out where Obama grabbed his wrist. But he has to be led. He can't put his coat on. Everything, I'm not making fun of him. He's got dementia. And I'm not going to pull any punches. I think he's got frontal lobe dementia. So, you say what you want, but them lying and saying we're all because we're lying about we're cheap fake. It's not. It's right there in your face. You know what a cheap fake is? It's not. There's no such thing. It's a name they made up, okay? See, he hit the flagpole there. Then this is kind of like crazy.
This is a historical moment for Brazil and for the U.S. President Biden, can you hear me? You can? Yes, good.
Now here he's keeps fiddling with that headset. And look. And then here's where he falls over on stage and claimed it was a sandbag. So everything is excuses. Now here he runs up, does that little shuffle. Falls almost twice going up those stairs.
Elected officials like Representative Governor, Senator Braun, Senator Booker, Representative Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here to help make this a reality.
There he goes down again on the bike. These are not things that were faked. Again, if he couldn't dance, then why stand up? If you're not going to dance, why stand up? He was being forced to do that for a photo op.
Ross, where's Deborah? This year, I just had my picture taken with her. That's probably why she left. No, all kidding aside. Anyway, she couldn't be here, actually. That's not true. I got it mixed up.
shaking hands with dead people, talking to dead people, can't find the staircase to go back down. I mean, how long are they going to let this continue? Let him run? But they won't charge him with the crimes that they know he was guilty of. Mr. Herr, and then they're going to say, look, even then, he has to be directed like everywhere he goes. He can't just, they have to control him. Like they can't let him run the country. This man is not running the country. That's the problem with this. So, again, so he can't even speak normal. How long does it take him? Bongino and them counted. It was like 10 seconds. I'm handicapped, man. I've got osteoarthritis in my knees. It takes me like 5 seconds to get in the car still, which is longer than most people, because most people can just flop down inside like 1 second, and it takes me about 5 seconds to get in. Can't find his way to Air Force One. I mean, look at him. He's just like wandering along like a lost kid.
There are a lot of videos going around about President Biden on social media.
These videos, I mean, they're blatant lies.
They are lying to their audience.
Making up and distorting things about the current president.
Trying to get people to believe visuals that aren't real.
The videos are oftentimes made up.
Deceptively edited videos known as cheap fakes.
A cheap fake, at least that's what the White House calls this viral video of President Biden.
The White House says there's a cheap fake problem. Cheap fakes.
Cheap fakes.
Cheap fakes, videos of real events that are intentionally manipulated.
We're hearing about so-called cheap fakes.
Cheap fakes.
Cheap fakes.
Cheap fakes.
Cheap fakes.
Distorted, out of context videos, chopped up in certain ways, constructed in certain ways.
Look at him. Look at Biden. It is not true. He was fine.
Biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets
without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely
Dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous.
Dangerous to our democracy.
Dangerous.
extremely dangerous to our democracy.
this is exactly what we were warned of. Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. It's right there. You can read it. It's the only place that really says this United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government. Nowhere does it say democracy. Huh? Now, our elections were supposed to be democratic in nature, in that people could all choose who they were going to vote for. But the mob mentality thing, they could not stand. Listen to the Founding Fathers' own words. They tried to warn you. They tried to tell you. Look at what the governor's wife of Philadelphia asked Benjamin Franklin what they had given him. They said, we've given you a republic if you can keep it. And so that was one of the first signs. Everybody ignores all this. It is not a democracy. Even if the government representatives act as a representative democracy, they aren't. Read what the Founding Fathers said. They despised democracy. They knew what it was. This is not a democracy. This is a republic. Even if they themselves act out in a sort of representative Democrat way, they are not. This is not a democracy. And that party, to be honest, died in the BCs. It should have stayed there, in my opinion. The mob mentality, everything, you've seen what it led to. Look at the Summer of Love, everything the Democrats have done. Back this up and read what these Founding Fathers say. And this is only some of the stuff they've written. Study the Federalist Papers. they explain to you the very reason why democracy is a danger to everything. Because it takes from those who work, those who earn, those who are trying to build something for their children, for their legacy to pass to their children, and it takes it away and says, well, you don't know what to do with this, the government knows better, so we're going to spend it the way we want to. And the problem with all these socialists saying it's never been done the right way, that's a complete lie. The Mayflower Compact did exactly that. They came over here, everybody got a fair share of, no matter who was working and who wasn't. The half that was working got tired of it and said, you know what, we're just going to sit down and we're not going to work either, and we're going to collect our part. Then nothing was being produced, and they tore up the Mayflower Compact, and William Bradford tore it up and said, you know what, we're just going to give everybody equal share of land, and you keep what you produce. And again, back to the Second Amendment thing. The government is controlled by the Constitution, not the people. Your rights were granted by God, inalienable. They are with you from the day you're born to the day you die. Our government declared this and recognized it in the Declaration of Independence. And it was Abraham Lincoln who said that perhaps the reason the Constitution even exists is because we had a declaration in the first place. So what he was saying was that it should be given higher consideration, and that's true in every case, because when the government begins to break their chains, just as we're seeing now, and they're saying, well, we're going to take away, and I hear people fearing the government's going to take away our right to bear arms. No, they can't. They can't unless you let them. That's the thing. The Declaration of Independence says your rights are inalienable. When the moment they try to take those rights away and they break the chains of the Constitution, it is your right to remove them from power, because they don't have that right to take away your inalienable rights. This is where I'm having the hardest time getting Republicans to grasp this. They can't just take your rights away. They are not to be given away. And if you give them away, then you're going to become a victim. Again, the Constitution is only an extension of the Declaration of Independence. Read it. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That's you. They do not have the power to go beyond your consent. So when they say they're going to take away your rights, they cannot. You need to remember that whenever they try it, you have the right to, and it's your duty and your right to take away their right to govern. They listen to the founding fathers. They tell you over and over and over again. Who cares if they call you a criminal when they're criminal despots? They're the ones who are the criminals. Don't listen to them. Listen to what the founding fathers told you. You have the right to defend your life, liberty, and your pursuit of happiness, and not for some would-be despot to come in and take everything away and give it to everyone else because he thinks he knows how better to live your life than you do. Listen to the founding fathers. They tried to warn you. They knew this is going to happen. If they take away your freedom of speech, if you let them, that's the only way they can do it, is if you let them. Your consent. If you do not consent and you say, okay, let me lay down, you lay down, you're giving it all away. You see what I'm saying? You do not have to give it away. All you have to do is say, no, I'm not going to comply. I do not consent to your control. I do not comply. My rights are God-given and unalienable. You can't take them away. Listen to me. They've broken every Constitution amendment there is. There's a long train of abuses already under this Biden administration. They've abused every single amendment. And again, said this in the last video, if they're housing these illegals as an army, that is the last one that they had, which was the Third Amendment about quartering soldiers. If they are using these people, or going to use them as soldiers, they've actually violated every amendment of the original Bill of Rights, all 10 of the first amendments of the Bill of Rights. You see, they sort of played that thing Dan Bongino calls the dipsy-do flipperooski on you. You see, they made you think that your rights are the Constitution, and they're not. That is their chains. So when they say, we're going to take away your right to bear arms, no. If they sign a bill saying the Second Amendment is null and void, that's not saying that your right is taken away. That's saying their ability to persecute you over owning arms is gone. So they're only removing their own chains. And I keep trying to explain this to people in a way that they'll understand. And it somehow evades everyone. And then I hear somebody turn around and say they're going to take away our Second Amendment. They can't take away your Second Amendment. They're taking away their own Second Amendment. That's what they're doing. They're taking away their chain that they can persecute you now for owning a gun, which is your inalienable right that they can't take away if you don't consent to it. Do you get what I'm saying? You don't consent to them taking your guns, so therefore they cannot. As long as you don't consent to it, they can't. And the last thing I want to talk about in this video is let's talk about racism, because I'm sick and tired of hearing about racism. These are some of my best friends when I was growing up, and I'm going to tell you something. You don't know what you're talking about. Just look at me and automatically presume that I'm just some old white guy, right? I'm actually almost a third Native American. I am Hebrew, Egyptian, white, and Chinese. And this is all DNA proven. My aunt is supposed to put all this in a book, but it's the point that, you know, I hear these people saying, oh, you support Trump, you're a racist, and all the baloney. Okay, this is another thing. Trump, twice he backed Jesse Jackson's political campaigns, and everybody forgets that. They ignore it, and you know, it's disgusting to hear these people always saying you're a racist because you know, we didn't have these problems. You know, before Obama got into office, all this was behind us. We had made such great strides in overcoming racism, and for people to be bothered by words, I've been called everything in the book, okay? It doesn't bother me. It didn't bother me when I was in school. There was a black kid who always called me hoochie, and he probably didn't think I knew what it meant, but it's a racial slur. And again, so you want to say, oh, well, you're white, so it doesn't matter. Well, yeah, it does matter, because see, my family came here to America from France to Canada, and from Canada they came down to the United States. And the first thing my family did was end up in the Civil War. We fought against slavery. We were in the Union Army fighting against the South, against slavery, against the Democrats. You know, but y'all like to ignore the fact that it's the Democrats who have always been the racists. My family was always the same. They never really changed. There are a few people who went like kind of Democrat, and they some of them are kind of loony, you know, the ones that are on the other side. And I'm be honest with you, I think most people who are Democrat are loony, and that's just because the way they act, the things they do. They burn cities, and they say we're crazy, and we're not. Look, I'm disabled. I'm not sitting here running around trying to chase somebody down. I own guns and I protect myself. And have I ever shot anybody in my life? No. I was plinking with 22s when I was a little kid. I never shot anyone. So here's the thing: you play all this acting like, you know, we don't hate anyone. Just, you know, stop trying to turn this into a communist country, because that's the first thing you're doing wrong. This country is not a democracy, and as soon as you try to turn it what happened to Greece, what happened to Rome, is Greece was a democracy. There was a man named Solon who was a Greek aristocrat. His idea was to create a set of laws that controlled the government, and therefore the people were still free and enjoyed their inalienable rights. So the man who came up with that idea was a long time before Montesquieu or any of them. His name was Solon, okay, the Greek aristocrat. And Rome built their whole republic on the idea that laws should be written to control the government. What happened to Rome? Democracy started creeping in. What happens in democracy? Mob mentality. There's always the majority thinks they have the right to decide for everyone. Okay? Here's the problem with that. Again, it is 99 people out of 200 want to be free, want to maintain their freedom, and 101 decide, well, no, let's give it all away. What about that 99? There are, so that was what protected that 99% is our individual liberty. The whole idea that this is a democracy is insane. It's not a democracy. We have individual liberty, which means that I have the right to choose how my destiny runs. I have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, here's a problem with me explaining again with the Second Amendment is if the pursuit of happiness, to pursue happiness, you have to have liberty. To pursue liberty, you have to have life. If you can't defend that life, someone takes it from you, then how are you going to have, see what I'm saying? You're not going to have the other two without life, so it isn't going to matter. Your right to defend yourself is God-given, and if it takes guns to do it, it takes whatever the weapon is of the time. This time, and this whole lie about, they envision muskets, bull. There was two guns that were automatic before that, or they were the closest attempts at automatic weapons, and one was called the Rebelliquin in the 14th century. That was the Ottoman Empire. That was the Muslims that invented that. And then there was the Puckle gun, which was 1718 or something. It was like 70 years before the Constitution was even written, but it was sort of like a hand crank thing. Again, they didn't have like cartridges then, so it probably could have been much more effective if they would have had cartridges. Again, you can't sit and tell people what they can and can't have. That is unalienable right, cannot be taken away. You can't sign enough pieces of paper to take away my rights or anyone else's. This is America. If you're trying to do that, then you deserve to be removed from power. And it's only when the people wake up and realize that their rights are not to be removed. You cannot remove them. The only thing you're removing by signing away the Second Amendment is your right to pursue us for having our God-given rights, and only if we consent to allow you to do it. And that's our mistake if we do. Shame on us if we do allow you to take over. Shame on America if you allow these dictators to come in and try to tell you what you can and cannot do. You have the freedom and you have the right and the duty to take these people out of power if they try to take what you were given by God, inalienable, your rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And you, ladies and gentlemen, have a good evening. And I am in the process of moving again. I've got another book on the market, Time Upon Time. I'm working on part 2 of that, so I'll have 4 books on the market when I get done with it. I am in foreclosure. I've been through so much of trying to fight for my Social Security. I'm disabled. I'm trying to pack my condo, and I've got it almost all fixed up and cleaned up. I haven't cleaned these blinds yet, but I've scrubbed everything in this whole house and packing my boxes and getting my stuff together, and I had to move out. And the question I have, Gifts and Goals and GoFundMe's, I have been trying to ask people for help for the longest time, and it's like I don't think people see my posts, because I'm so shadow banned. Again, I've been in this battle longer than most of you have, even before you even heard the name Trump. I mean, I'm that long because like I said, I was started preaching it, I think, in the early 80s and 90s, and that's when I realized and flipped from the Democratic Party to Republican in 91. I became a mega ditto head. I was listening to Rush every day. I did not vote for the Clintons. I could have never voted for them. I knew they were criminals, and I knew we were in trouble when Ken Starr set forth 11 recommendations to impeach Bill Clinton, and they picked Monica Lewinsky. I knew we were in trouble, because at that moment I knew the government was corrupted, because there were 10 worse things than Monica Lewinsky in that Ken Starr's report. And everybody kept saying, what about Trump? They didn't even recommend one, and everybody kept saying, using the excuse that, well, they can't prosecute a sitting president. It wasn't about prosecute. What do you think these special investigations were, to arrest Bill Clinton? If that was the case, why weren't they trying to put him in jail then? They weren't trying to put him in jail. They were trying to impeach him. The same with Trump. They could have used one of these recommendations. Did Mueller set forth one? Not even one. He sat there and ran his mouth about something, and everybody took that as, oh, that's something to go on. He said he wasn't clear. He did not set forth even one, not one recommendation, or else they would not have had to make up the whole Ukraine phone call thing to pursue Trump, persecute him for, and everything they've done to Trump. And I feel bad for him, because you think about this. Any one of you all could have been a presidential candidate. You could have ran and done the same thing, and they would have came after you just the same to destroy you, because they don't want someone they can't control. And as soon as you try to go in the government and they can't control you, they will destroy you. They did it to Nixon. They did it to JFK. You can go back to McKinley. They assassinated him. They assassinated Lincoln, McKinley, was it Garfield, and JFK, and they tried to assassinate a couple. They shot a couple other presidents. Got shot too. I think was it Roosevelt? I think he got shot, and someone else got shot too. Was injured, but it's a thing. As soon as if they can't control you, they want to kill you. And there's your Federal Reserve Bank. It's those people, and they're not even American. Federal Reserve Bank is not owned by America, and I'm sure a lot of y'all know that by now, but neither is the IRS. See, that's what you don't understand. They're the Gestapo for the Federal Reserve Bank, and that's un-American. We need to get rid of the IRS. We need to get rid of the Federal Reserve Bank. No central bank digital currency. Don't fall for that. Don't even ever think about it, because that's the first step towards your Antichrist and your mark of the beast. But anyway, I'm going to cut this video off now. I've been on here quite a while ranting, but it's a thing that you all need to understand, is that you do not have to consent. You do not have to give up your rights to anything. It's what you consent to that they will do to you. And if you say, no, I will not consent, then no, they will have to, and that's, again, the reason why you had those guns, was to keep them from saying, oh, well, we're going to make you do it anyway. No, you're not going to. We're going to fight, if we have to. But it should be a last resort, only, ever, last resort, to defend yourself and defend your freedom, defend your individual liberty. This country is not a democracy. You all take care and have a good evening.